Hi everyone, welcome to this afternoon's presentation on the National Quality in Career Standard. My name's Michelle Squire and I manage this Quality in Career Standard on behalf of Ixion, which is part of the Shaw Trust organisation. And what I'm going to do this afternoon is to talk to you a little bit about the Quality in Career Standard, what it is, where it originated from, and how I actually manage the process for part of this organisation. You'll see on the screen at the moment, it does say that the presentation will be recorded. So if you did want to come back and listen again, because I will give you a lot of information this afternoon, please do come back and listen again. What I would also ask you to do is, if you have got questions that you would like to ask, I'm going to ask if you can leave them till the end of the presentation, because as I said, you will find that I will talk a lot about what goes on with the National Quality and Careers Standard. Or if you want to, you can drop me notes in the chat box, or again, if you wanted to at the end of the session, please feel free to contact me, because you will have my details on the last slide of this. So, entirely up to you on what you'd like to do. Okay. So what is the Quality and Career Standard, and the National Quality and Career Standard? And how does that really compare to, what's actually going on in institutions in terms of the matrix accreditation, in terms of the Gatsby benchmarks and the Compass report and things that are going on? As you can see on the screen, what you've actually got with it, the standard, it's an externally assessed and validated qualification. It's really a kite mark for an institution, and it's for the institution's careers education, information, advice and guidance provision. It's externally in terms of its measure, it's externally determined by a national organisation. So even though I manage the Quality and Career Standard, I manage it as a licence provider from a national body. And I use occupationally competent external assessors to actually go into institutions to ensure that they're putting together portfolios of evidence that will come up to the standard for this National Quality in Career Standard. How I actually look at this particular standard is, if you think about you're going into a store to buy a washing machine and you're not sure which one to have, and it's got a kite mark to it, you could go in and you could actually look at whether that kite mark is, on a Bosch machine, a Philips, Zanussi, because there's all different organisations that all work to the same kite mark. And it's the same with the National Quality and Career Standard. I'm not the only licence provider for Ixion. There are other licence providers across the country, but today I am actually going to talk about the Ixion one, because obviously that is who I work for. So I will go into detail about that. Okay, so who is it for? What organisations can, go for this Quality and Career Standard? As you can see on the screen, it's a range of different organisations, from secondary schools, academies, MATs, special schools, PRUs, sixth forms, colleges, training providers. You'll see primary schools. There's a big push at the moment for more careers education and guidance going on in primary schools. And one of the things that is actively being worked on at this moment in time is a specific primary school Quality and Career Standard for careers. So watch this space for that. And we also operate, Ixion certainly operates in England, Northern Ireland, and the Channel Islands is covered by other organisations. That's somewhere we haven't got a foot in the door, but we certainly work in England, Northern Ireland, and I also will say that we have had some interest very recently from Southern Ireland. So it does cover a whole, the whole of the country and more. So what is all this about quality awards? How long have these quality awards been going on? I've got to say that I've been involved with local quality awards actually since the early 90s. I was on the original writing party for the organisation that I now work for and its predecessor, and actually putting standards together for careers education. And in the early 90s, there was a huge wealth of organisations and operations across the country that were actually looking at running different versions within different local authority areas. That was mainly because there was funding from central government to actually do that. So there was a lot of interest in the early 90s. Then came 2012, and this was when we had the culling really of the Careers Guidance Service, and this was where responsibility for securing access to careers guidance was given to institutions to work with no funding. And what that meant in practice was half of all local quality awards ceased to exist, because there certainly wasn't the budget then to actually support institutions to go through the process. Although some had collapsed due to other funding cuts, but this was the main time that a lot of these quality and careers standards as such were no longer in existence. However, what did happen over that time, and this was really from around 2010 and onwards, there was a careers profession task force that got together of all of, I would say, the great and the good in the careers world, which recommended this overarching national kite mark to validate all these different quality awards that were going on around in the country. Because up until that time, any local authority could run with a quality award and name it after its local authority or the careers or connections company at the time. But from 2010, this Quality in Careers Consortium came about. And the Quality in Careers Consortium still exists today. And the Quality in Careers Consortium gives out the licenses to organisations to operate for the Quality in Careers Standard. Now, it isn't something that we get a licence for, as a one-off, and that's it, you get it for life. Every 3 years, I have to reapply for the licence that we have got for Ixion. Because we have to keep our standards up, as well as supporting the standards that are going on in different organisations. So from 2011 to 2012, the Quality in Careers Standard really evolved. And, it has been known since then as the national validation for careers in terms of its quality, and it's to accredit good practice in a few areas. So it's accrediting the practice in careers education, careers information, careers advice, and careers guidance. Now, I get asked a lot around, well, is it the same as Matrix? And no, it isn't. Matrix tests the quality of information and guidance from a guidance professional or organisation, and it's often linked to funding. The other question that I do get asked a lot of is, well, we do compass reports, we've got the Gatsby benchmarks, is that not enough? If you look at the Gatsby benchmarks, they are really headlines of what should be within a good careers education provision. Gatsby benchmark 1, have you got a good, have you got a careers education programme? You can answer yes to that, but the Quality in Careers Standard will actually look at the devil in the detail. But I will explain a little bit more of that as I go on. So it is looking more at what is happening, really through a microscope in your organisation. Okay, so what happened from the 13th of March 2017? This was the big overhaul really of all of the different organisations that worked on quality career standards, because all the 12 previously validated award bodies were all given the licence to award this quality in career standard. And the reason why this was done was to try and simplify and clarify for organisations across the country that it is one body, we all have to work to it, all as licence providers, but each of us as licence providers can certificate organisations for this particular standard. How it moved on from 2017, there was a big movement because of what was going on with the statutory guidance. So there was a revised guide that came out And all of us licensed providers had to look at these specifics in terms of what institutions were doing with their Compass reports and Compass tools, looking at how institutions are meeting the Gatsby benchmarks, because the Gatsby benchmarks are built into the Quality in Careers Standard. And this was actually being looked at as a strategic drive for change to help institutions to move forward and to get that accreditation for good practice. There is also built into this a quality review. If you were to go through the Ixion version of the Quality and Career Standard, we recommend that you take 2 years to complete this process. It's not something that's done overnight. So we are reviewing it after the first year to see how you're actually getting on putting together the portfolio of evidence. And you can work through to 2 years, up to 2 years, to actually get this final certification. At the moment, we have got 11 licensed awarding bodies that actually go through, that are have been appointed by the consortium board, that can all deliver on the Quality and Career Standard. And the reason why I've put Careers Leader Qualification at the bottom, one of the things that I have found is if you have gone through that Careers Leader Qualification, you've already done a lot of the groundwork that would help you in actually achieving the Quality in Career Standard. So I would certainly say if that is something you have done, because of all of the audit work you've had to do, because you've had to look at CDI framework, for example, looking at detail at the Gatsby benchmarks, that will certainly help you in actually going through the Quality in Career Standard. Okay, so it's a single facing brand, as I'd said, and it is the only national award. There are no other awards that will actually give that rubber stamp, even though there's different licensed providers, there is the only one. And if you did want to know more about the National Consortium Board and what is actually going on nationally, there is a link on this slide that you could actually go on to have a look at, which is the Quality and Careers Organisation's main website, which gives a lot of detailed information about the consortium board and what the national kite mark actually looks at. But I mentioned before that what we're actually looking at is how organisations are meeting the Gatsby benchmarks, and I'm hoping that those of you that are listening to this, that you know what the benchmarks are. I'm not going to read them off the slide, but you should feel assured that all of us licensed providers that are doing this, and certainly from my end, all of the standards, all of the benchmarks are included specifically in the standards, and you will actually see that when you get the paperwork that you have from us. Okay, and what you will find is this detailed information as well, if you haven't seen it, is in the statutory guidance telling you what you need to be doing for the 8 Gatsby benchmarks. And I don't intend picking those over one at a time, but I did think it was worth letting you know that we will be looking at these, and we will be looking at these in detail. Okay. So what is this actually showing then? You know, if you're going to go through the Quality and Career Standard, why should you do it? Because there is going to be a cost involved with us and for other organisations. And speaking to the many institutions that have gone through the process with me, you know, there's good reasons on why they're actually looking at the Quality and Career Standard. It's a way of celebrating the good that is going on within your organisation. You do get logos and certificates for going through the process, and I will talk about the process with Ixion shortly. But you're able to use the Quality and Career Standard logo. You can show Ofsted what you've been doing. The portfolio of evidence that you actually collate will give you more than enough evidence to show Ofsted what your careers education provision is. And for schools in Northern Ireland, it is very well regarded by the ETI inspectorate out there. And the big thing on this, it does meet the recommendations of the statutory guidance for schools and colleges. One of the things that I will say is that I know the statutory guidance The updates should be coming out at some point this year. They should have been out now, and when they do come out, all of us Quality and Career Standard organisations will be looking to see whether we need to make changes to any of the literature that we send out, or how we ask people to build their portfolios of evidence, because we have to keep on top of what the government is actually looking for. But as I say, for external audiences, it's actually showing, what's actually going on within your organisation. And why do it? Why should you do this standard if it's going to take me up to 2 years? Again, because I've worked with these standards for many years now, what I have seen is how careers and guidance actually is enhanced within organisations, because it gives organisations the opportunity to take a step back and look at the provision to see what is actually going on and how they can make improvements. It gives you the opportunity to take a close look at what is already happening, so that you can celebrate what is good, update and refine, and reassess anything that isn't working. And particularly over the COVID pandemic, this has been a real challenge for organisations. It also encourages institutions to look at more structured policies rather than having general policy documentation that is not used. And also it looks in a lot of detail at the careers education programme. And one of the things I always think with the standard is that it encourages staff in institutions to talk to each other, because the Quality and Career Standard isn't just for one person in an institution to get. It's a whole school or college approach, because careers now is being embedded across the curriculum. So it isn't just up to one person to, be pulling this together. Then we can look at saying, what is in it for stakeholders, or what is it so that we can show stakeholders, okay, what it is showing to, the most important members of the institution is that, your parents and carers, it's showing them the standard of your careers provision. And why not celebrate it if you are doing, an excellent job in terms of what is out there? It also gives the stakeholders an opportunity to see that you've actually put a quality structure in place to support this transition into adult life and the importance of all of that. So again, speaking to stakeholders, I've seen the value that they actually get from seeing this good provision in institutions. I'm really proud to say as well that it involves students in the whole of this process, because one of the things that we look at is how the careers education programme is reviewed and evaluated. And one of the ways in which we are looking at it is we look at what students think. So and particularly with the Ixion one, when we actually go in to assess the provision, one of the things my assessors would actually look for, and I would certainly look for, is having a group of students together from the different year groups to find out about the careers provision and to find out what's actually gone on and whether they have been satisfied. And more importantly, what I would be looking at is to see whether students have been moved on from year to year in their thinking in terms of careers. I've also seen the evolution of career champions, student librarians, mentors within organisations, because institutions have seen the value of having these, so that you have got young people that are involved with the design, the development and the participation in the careers education programme. One of the things that has been reported on as well over the years is how the high standard of provision can be linked to a positive effect on career readiness and destinations. And not only that, but in examination grades, because if you're giving your students the means of having a good careers education programme, they understand much better why they need to get good grades to get onto their next transition phase. This also as well, and I think we're very proud of this in terms of the Quality and Careers Standard, it guarantees support for the most vulnerable of us in society and vulnerable young people, because questions are asked of how these students are being supported. Then I'm going to go on to senior leaders. You know, what does it mean for senior leaders within an organisation, whether it be in school, college, pupil referral unit, wherever? It certainly gives CEIAG a higher profile and increases the involvement of senior managers and especially governors, because they have to be involved with this process. And, you know, every school should, and college, you know, should have a governor that is linked to their careers provision. But it gives the schools, the institutions, that opportunity to involve more people in actually putting the standard together. And the statutory duty for providing access to careers guidance is required of the governors and school leaders as well as school staff. So it's actually highlighting the importance of the statutory guidance that is out there. Okay. One of the things that I would say, and I do say this a lot to organisations, it does encourage you to change. It makes you look at your provision, because if you can see the quote from Tony Robinson, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten, and things will never change. Careers education and careers education programmes should evolve and move forward. Just because you've always done it doesn't mean to say that you've got to continue doing it. Okay, and I'd also say don't be afraid to change, because you may lose something good, but you may gain something even better. And again, I think over the pandemic, we have seen such a lot of good practice that has been going on with the organisations in terms of how institutions have seen how, you know, a blended approach to learning and to careers may be the future, and not necessarily the programmes that have been there before. Value for money. A good careers education programme will ensure that young people get the most of their careers advisory sessions. Having trained as a careers advisor many years ago myself, you know, I certainly endorse this, because what you don't want is, if you are an institution that pays for a careers advisor to come in, you don't want your careers advisor to spend the time that they've got on a one-to-one interview really trying to condense the careers education programme. You know, you should be able to give that one-to-one session over to the careers advisor to be a precious one-to-one in terms of making sure that the students can be moved on with their thoughts and thinking. So, you know, think about the Good Careers programme, what it means and what it entails. Okay. What actually happens now with the Quality and Careers Standard, and if you actually went through the process, what goes on here? All of the licensed bodies, including us at Ixion, will give 3 forms of public recognition, and that has been there from September 2018 and will be continuing. So what happens? As soon as anybody signs up with us to say that they are going to go ahead with the standard, they will get a certificate of commitment. And that will say on the certificate that the institution has committed to the process and will be working towards the National Quality and Careers Standard, and will be given dates on the certificate to say when that's actually got to be completed. Then up to the first year, there is an external assessment. So what happens at the external assessment? This is when one of the assessors actually will make a visit into the school to have a look at how a portfolio of evidence is coming together, and then would make recommendations to the institution on things that they needed to put into the portfolio to enable them to meet fully the standard. But at that second meeting, if everything's gone okay, the school gets another certificate saying that they are making good progress towards meeting the standard. And then when it comes up to the second year, and this can be done in less than 2 years, this is the maximum really. But once an institution has gone for the final external accreditation, and the Ixion approach, what we do here is we go through the portfolio, but the final part of the jigsaw for us is a half-day visit in the institution, so that we meet with the careers team, the careers leader, somebody that may be in work-related learning, could be the Senko. We ask to meet students, it may be tutors that we want to meet, things that we feel that we need to follow up on in terms of the evidence that's there. And then once somebody has got through that process, a certificate is given to say that they have fully met the standard, and that certificate then lasts for 3 years. And if an institution wants to go through the process again, they can after 3 years' time. Okay. So if you're new to careers and you've not been in the world of careers before, what I would say is that the Quality and Careers Standard is a framework for a new careers professional, because it tells you what you need to have in place to have a good provision. And it also helps you to get to know your institution and find out what's going on, because we have so many questions that we actually ask you to go away and look at, and also audit documentation, so that you're auditing against different elements of the units, which I am going to talk about shortly, so that you can see what you need to build up to actually go and get this standard at the end of the day. If you're picking up after somebody else, or there's been a job change within your organisation, make sure, if somebody has been going through the process, if they have had a paper-based portfolio, that they've actually left it there for you to look at. One of the things, though, I do recommend now, particularly with the Ixion Standard, is that we have an online portfolio building workbook, which is much easier, can I say, than having to go around and photocopy pieces of paper that have got to go into a ring binder, that actually will build the portfolio up that way. But, you know, it doesn't matter to us. What we are looking at is how we actually work with an institution to ensure they actually get through that. But it is a good question to ask at an interview, if someone has done the Quality and Careers Standard, is where is all the evidence being held that they've already gone through in that first process. Okay. So what if it's on your job description? I think I mentioned this earlier on in the presentation. The Quality and Careers Standard is not, and this is why it's in red, and we repeat, not a qualification for one person. It is for the whole institution. And I think you'll see that when I actually go through the unit information about what is actually asked for. Just to give you a little bit of a breakdown then on the national numbers, what's actually going on across the country. This is the latest figures, and it's usually at this time of the year that our consortium board bring up-to-date information out. So this does come from 2020. But as you can see, there's over 1,100 hold or are working towards the standard. And this includes 32% of England's state secondary schools and academies, and approximately 30% of England's FB and sixth form colleges. And as I said earlier, we have got numbers growing in Northern Ireland and the Channel Islands. And across the country, there are now around 100 assessors. I would think that figure has actually gone up since this was done before, but there's a huge amount of qualified assessors that all have to be level 6 qualified, or they certainly have to be level 6 qualified in careers guidance or careers leaders for an assessor to actually work with Ixion and with me. So just to give you a little bit of history on the Ixion Standard, because it's quite new to the Ixion brand at this moment in time. So the Ixion Quality and Careers Standard was formerly the Prospects National Quality and Careers Standard, which actually started out in 1994 as the Black Country Quality Award, again, which I said earlier on was the first lot of standards that I'd actually worked on. I hate to think how long ago that was really. So if any of you, have heard of the Prospects Quality and Careers Standard and I wondered what had happened to it, Prospects was taken over by the Shaw Trust Group, and what they have decided to do is that they have put the what was the Prospects Quality and Careers Standard now with Ixion. So it's all been rebranded as the Ixion Quality and Careers Standard. And I'm really pleased to be involved with Ixion to be actually delivering this and to continue with it. So at the moment, how are we standing in numbers? We've got 119 institutions working towards the licence standard across the country and in Ireland, and plus that 123 that hold the standard. So we are working with quite a sizable amount of institutions up and down the country. What's also on here as well, you can see that I've put that 26 institutions hold the Ixion Gold level. The gold level is actually given to institutions where we can see that they have excelled and exceeded the expectations of the Quality and Careers Standard. The gold level is not a national gold level, it's an Ixion one, because the National Quality and Careers Standard is a standard to say that you've actually got it, but it doesn't appear in levels. So we actually see as assessors, we think you have gone above and beyond in terms of how you've reported back in your portfolios. My assessors certainly recommend to me, because it's my decision at the end of the day, who actually gets the gold level. So in effect, you could end up with two certificates. You could have an Ixion gold level, and you could also have a National Quality and Careers Standard certificate as well. Okay. So the content, what I'm not going to go into is a huge amount of detail, but you could see that there's, we ask for information on all of these elements. Things that I always suggest that organisations look at first are Unit A and Unit C. The policy and management, you need to get your policy right. You need to have the management involved. You need to have a governor in place. You need to make sure that the policy documentation is reflective of what's going on within the institution, and it cannot be more than 2 years old, because we like to see that as being a dynamic document. So I always encourage institutions to look at getting the policy documentation right first of all. I also then get them to look at the planned programme of careers education, because what we want to see is how that has been planned across all year groups, so that we can see clear progression from year 7 upwards, so that we can see what's actually happened with the careers education programme. And one of the things that I look at with this is how you have worked with the CDI framework to look at how you've planned and plotted your provision against that. And in particular, we will be looking at the new CDI framework that's only been out now for the last couple of weeks, to look at how your programme dovetails in with that. I missed review and evaluation there, Unit B, because what I always say to institutions, we're giving you 2 years to do this. So one of the things that you have the opportunity to do is to review and evaluate your provision over an academic year. So if you've got the option to do that, that's a really great way to see what is actually going on in your institution and how you can make the changes over that time. And we do look for review and evaluation material. We're not looking for 100% review and evaluation of everything, but we are looking at how you have looked within your organisation, worked with your stakeholders, with your staff, with your students, to look at reviewing and evaluating the provision. Unit D is all around information and careers information. We are not expecting well-stocked libraries of careers books that are never used, but what we are looking for is how young people are signposted to careers information. It may be in the library, it may be in websites that you're using, it may be software that you've bought in, but we are looking at the type of information, we're looking at the differentiation in the information as well, to see what you're actually doing with your students. Unity is experience of the world of work and encounters with employers and employees. What this doesn't say is work experience, okay? We are looking for the experiences of the world of work. So we are looking at what your institution does in terms of these encounters with employers and employees. And we will talk you through this in terms of, if you're not sure whether you're actually meeting this element, what it is you need to have in place. We also look for Unit F, the individual guidance, personal planning and transition support. You have to have a level 6 qualified careers advisor in your institution. to even start going on the Quality and Career Standard journey, because that is a prerequisite of anyone that signs up to go on this journey with us. So we will need to see that level 6 qualified careers advisor, we will need to see their certificates, we will need to see that they are on the CDI professional register as well, so that we can check to make sure that you have got the standard of person within your organisation that is giving this individual guidance out to your students. We'll also look at how you work with your parents and carers, so this is Unit G, and we're looking at how you're supporting those to support their young people. And it's quite a sizable unit actually, the work with parents and carers. And I would also say watch this space for the Gatsby Benchmarks, because I think there'll be more going on with parents and carers in that. So this is a really good time to look at how you are making the work that you do with parents and carers more inclusive within your organisation. We also look with encounters with FE and HE. So again, it's looking how that has actually been built into your provision, what sort of encounters your students are actually getting. And I know with Unit E and Unit H, that has been difficult over the pandemic, but what we've been looking for with our schools and colleges over that time is what they were doing pre-pandemic, what they did during the pandemic, and what they're going to be doing post-pandemic to ensure that their students are going to be having the experiences and the encounters that they deserve. We also look at equality and diversity within the careers education provision. Some institutions that I've been working with have actually got equality and diversity awards. That's great if you've got them, because you can use those as evidence, but we are looking at how this is actually tackled within an organisation. And really importantly to me as well is this learner voice. And this is all about your students, what your students are saying, how they're involved. You may have student councils, you may have careers champions, you may have groups of students that you are working with, but that is a really important element of the Quality and Career Standard. So that just gives a little bit of a breakdown, but we actually look for the content for institutions around all of those elements. Okay. So if you were interested in going forward for this, how does this actually happen? You know, what do you have to do? What is the next process in this? The expression of interest by yourselves should come freely via me, because I vet every institution that actually goes through the process for Ixion. As I said before, you have to have a level 6 qualified careers advisor. You also have to have the commitment from your senior leadership team to actually go through this. I will need a purchase order off everyone that comes through to go through the standard with us, because you do have to pay for the standard before you start. Every institution will be asked to complete a commitment document, which you will have to get either your head teacher or your principal and your chair of governors to sign, to say that the school is committed to that. And that for us is seen as really important, because it's getting then the presence of your senior leadership team actually looking at the Quality and Career Standard, and it's getting their backing. We'd also need to see an up-to-date compass tool, and we will ask to see compass tools throughout the life of you actually doing the Quality and Career Standard. We were looking for necessary documentation. As I said, the commitment certificate has to be completed, and also what we look at is whether we're actually giving you information on the way to build up a paper portfolio, or whether you go through our portal, our website version. But all of that is talked through by me, so I actually go through that with individual organisations, so you understand what you need to do. So really that's the introduction from me, from the team, and if you're going to be working with other assessors then across the country, I will tell you who it is that you'll actually be working with. With the paperwork that you get, the first thing that's in there is an audit tool. So you can straight away audit where you think you are with the standard and the things that you need to be putting in place before you can actually go through this process. You're also being asked as well, while you're going through this, to self-assess your organisation on a scale of 1 to 4. We give you all the details on this self-evaluation, so we tell you what you need to be doing for a scale to get a 1, or what it would be for a 4. And for institutions going through the process, what we are looking for is that you have to self-assess yourself at grades 1s and 2s, because we need 1s and 2s overall for you to actually get through the Quality in Careers Standard. Okay. So you complete a portfolio of evidence that meets all of performance criteria. As I said, you can either do it through the website version by downloading documents and writing some text on the website. I have full control of the back office of that, so I get to see what everybody's doing. And the other thing I do say to institutions is, if they are not sure about whether they've uploaded things correctly, or they want me to have a look at some of the information that's on there, they only have to get in touch with me, and I'll go in and have a look to see whether I think the policy at that time is fit for purpose. The annual review, as I said before, you get a Making Good Progress certificate. So, you know, we want to see how you're getting on with this. We want to make sure that, you know, we are helping you to get it. There's no failure on this, so to speak. As long as you work with us, we will work with you to ensure that you get the Quality in Careers Standard. Okay. The subsequent annual review, which is the second one, as I say, that is when you get their final certificate, which then lasts for 3 years. Okay. So just to sort of confirm, then you get a quality award pack, which includes the standard assessment framework, the audit tool, the guide, gives you details on the processes and tips and hints for institutions. And if you did want to complete the assessment on our website, it's through the short trust qualityincareers.co.uk. And again, it's me that will set you up on that, giving you a unique username and password to actually get into that workbook. Okay. So just again to put another confirmation in for you, essential evidence that you'll have to go through this. We need that signed commitment form from your school. We need the completed compass tool. You will have to do a policy, because you will not get past the first part of section A if you've not got an up-to-date policy. You do need to have a careers programme, and we need to see that against how it's been audited against the CDI framework. We need to see what you're doing. We'd certainly want to see a development plan, a careers development plan. And with links to the institutional development and improvement plan as well. Where does careers fit in with that? We'll also be looking for examples of partnership and service agreement or contracts with external guidance providers, if you have any. And we certainly will be looking at the destination trends and commentary, which is exactly the same that Ofsted would be looking for. Just to show you what the website actually looks like. So this actually gives you information onto the Quality in Careers Standard Ixion website. We'll give you a little bit of general information about the standard, but it's through this particular site that you would actually have access to the workbook. But just to show you what the workbook would look like. This is the policy and management. So for example, you are given a couple of text boxes. So the first one, we're asking you to describe and evaluate your institution's approach, and then we're also asking you to put what your key priorities are for development. You can see that there is a link to guidance notes, and the guidance notes can be got straight through from the website, but I always send a PDF copy as well. So if you want that at the side as you're going through that, you've got that as well. And you can see underneath documents in red. This is how institutions have uploaded the documents, and we actually give you examples of documents that you could have on there. One of the things you can't quite see on the slide is right at the very bottom right hand side, it's got self-assessment grading, and that's where we ask you to choose your assessment grade against the guidance notes. So we've tried to make it really quite simplistic to complete, not something that should take a huge amount of time, or it's really quite easy. And that's one of the things that I have a lot of feedback from institutions, is that it's easy to use, and the guidance notes that go along with it really help to get get the standard and get it put in place. Okay, so just as a reminder, if you want more information, you can contact me, Michelle Squire. That is my email address, and the telephone number at the bottom, that is my telephone number. Because there's only me that has got the responsibility for the Quality and Career Standard for Ixion, if I am on leave or I'm not around, Natasha Church, my line manager, will also take questions on the Quality and Career Standard. So please feel free to contact one or both of us. Okay. So I've told you a great deal about the Quality and Career Standard and the offer for Ixion. So are there any questions? Is there anything anybody would like to ask at this moment in time? Okay. Well, there's nothing coming through in terms of questions on the Zoom pad, and nobody's asked questions yet. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to call a halt with this, and what I will do is say to you, if you do want any more information and advice, please drop me a line, give me a ring. I'll be more than happy to chat through the Quality and Career Standard with you. I'll leave it there then. Thank you for listening.